To say that The Last Jedi was divisive is an understatement. I don't think I have ever seen so many divided opinions over one film, and I have a lot to say about it, but also to look at the legacy this film has left, a legacy that is still felt today. So, The Last Jedi has 3 distinct plot lines. Luke, Rey, and Kylo. Holdo, Poe, and Leia. Finn, and Rose. I'm going to look at each individually, starting with Part 1. Rey and the Depressed Hermit. The material in this storyline I believe is some of the best in all of Star Wars. To start off with, Luke, I know his big character change was a huge source of criticism in the fanbase, and from Mark Hamill himself.
How did the most optimistic, hopeful character in the galaxy turn into this hermit who says it's time for the Jedi to end? I read that and I said, what?
But really, it's been, what, 30 years since the events of Return of the Jedi? And as we learn in the film, he has had significant trauma from failing Ben, who killed his students and burnt the Jedi Temple to the ground. This event, this failure, has stuck with him and changed him into this depressed hermit. It's completely realistic. People are not going to stay the same after receiving significant trauma in their lives, so I did not mind this drastic change in personality. If anything, I thought it made it more interesting. I loved the scenes between him and Rey. His lesson to her about what the Force is, and later on when he tries to teach her about why the Jedi should die. You know, this is very interesting, and he has some very, very good points about how the Jedi don't own the Force, and their hubris is what wiped them out. I like how director Rian Johnson is trying to deconstruct the Star Wars mythos through Luke and give everything a grey tone, as opposed to just good versus evil. Rey also makes him see things differently in that it was Ben who failed him, not the other way around, and this resolve helps him face the First Order by himself at the end. Even though it's just a hologram, he distracts them so the Resistance can escape, and this gives people hope, as we see at the end with the kids reenact it with figures. I really love all the scenes with Luke in the film. A man struggling with his failure and trauma who in the end overcomes it and does something to inspire hope across the galaxy. It's a great character arc. Now, let's go back to that scene where Luke teaches Rey about the Force. Rian Johnson really likes subverting expectations in the film, so I thought he was headed that way with Rey. During this scene, she is drawn to the darkness below the island, and Luke is scared because she didn't resist the cool. So in the end, when Kylo offers her the chance to join him, I thought she was gonna do it because she has shown her draw to the dark side, and Rey is all about subverting those expectations, huh? But she rejects him. They fight over Anakin's lightsaber, and we go back to the status quo. It's so disappointing. It would have made it infinitely more interesting if she did join him, and Kylo was trying by saying her parents were nobodies, so she is a nobody, and he says this very meta line.
You have no place in this story. You come from nothing. You're nothing.
The feeling that Rey shouldn't be a part of the sequel trilogy, but she was just thrown into it, because at this point she has no connection to anyone else. Very subversive, Ryan, but you just couldn't stick with it, could you? Had to go back to the status quo. Disappointing. But having said that beforehand, all her scenes with Kylo are great, since they have some form of Force Skype connection. Their sexual chemistry sure is magnetic. I do like Kylo's arc in the film. First seeds to redemption, and I gotta compliment Adam Driver's performance. He does make Kylo really interesting with how unpredictable he is. In a lesser actor's hands, Kylo wouldn't have been this interesting. The eternal struggle and conflict in Kylo keeps his character really engaging. Like the scene when he kills Snoke. You can see the conflict in him, then he decides to kill Snoke. This scene was also divisive, but I saw it as complementing Kylo's character arc in the film, finally making decisions for himself and taking control. So this whole storyline is great. It has some of the best scenes in all of Star Wars in my opinion. I just love the grand confrontation at the end between Luke and Kylo. I like how it isn't a standard lightsaber fight that we are accustomed to in these films. The training with Rey and Kylo's relationship, the throne room scene, it's all so good. There is one thing at the end about Rey, but I will talk more about that when I get through the other storylines. Part 2. A lesson in terrible leadership. It's all downhill from here. This storyline really frustrates me. I remember seeing comments about watching this film again with the mindset that Poe is some sort of arrogant, troublemaking flyboy, but watching it again, no, the storyline is still frustrating. So yes, I found Leia flying through space after being shot out pretty unbelievable. Just seemed like a cheap way for her not to die. Admiral Akbar didn't deserve to die like that either. Just before that, Leia demotes Poe for disobeying her in the opening. Yes, that is justified. The shot of her looking over at all of the ships they have lost is very telling and a somber moment for her. But after they escape the First Order and are found again, he asks her permission to go in a ship and blow stuff up, which she grants. So Leia is in a coma from now on, and we are introduced to her replacement, Commander Holdo. So here is the frustrating part of this storyline. Holdo doesn't tell anyone, except those in her position, what the plan is. Poe is asking, and she just berates him and says Leia demoted him, calling him an impulsive, dangerous, trigger-happy flyboy. Even though Leia gave him permission to be one of those before she went into a coma, but whatever. She tells him to follow her orders, to stick to his post. Well, she hasn't really given any orders so far, so annoyed with being stuck in the dark, Poe sends Finn and Rose on a mission, which we will get to later, to help the Resistance. Basically, he becomes everything she criticizes him for in this moment, just because she isn't telling him anything. I've seen comments to view Poe as being very insubordinate and not following orders, but sorry, if Poe was the only one to be like this, then I can see it working. But when he conducts a mutiny, other people take part, even Carrie Fisher's granddaughter. So clearly, he is not the only one questioning her leadership, and he would have had to get these people, an alien, involved off screen to pull it off. So yeah, they feel the same way. Then, to add to this, when Leia is out of a coma and tells him what the plan is, he says that it's a good plan and might work. So what is all this about not telling him what the plan is? He says it's a good plan. So if she told him, he would have done what's necessary to make it succeed. Or, if Rian Johnson really wanted to keep this part with Holdo not telling him the plan, then say something like there could be a spy on board. How else did they track us through lightspeed? So she doesn't want the plan to get out. That would have made more sense. Instead, it's just like, nah, I'm not telling you because I'm superior to you, so listen to me. What's the message here exactly? Just blindly follow orders and don't question anything? Poe's actions do also indirectly make the First Order aware of the plan, so they start firing at the ships leaving. Again, Holdo, this could have all been avoided if you told him or give him a better reason to not say. Then you wouldn't have to sacrifice yourself. Admittedly, this is a very cool scene where she lightspeeds into the ship. After all this though, I don't find myself really disliking Holdo, and that's because of one line she says.
That one's a troublemaker. I like him.
Even after everything Poe has done, she admits that she likes him. They probably would have worked better together though, if she just told Poe. This is a frustrating part of the film, and I don't like that the film frames it like Holdo is right. Sorry, but not telling Poe, and others it seems, does not create confidence in your leadership. Part 3. A pointless side quest. Finally, we have the most pointless side plot. Finn, who seemingly isn't fully on the rebel side, despite risking his life for them in The Force Awakens, decides he is going to bail. Rose is, I guess, an engineer in charge of the escape pods, and at the start of the film, her sister Paige sacrifices herself to launch the bombs. The start of the film is actually pretty thrilling. I really like it. Besides these bits with General Hux, I don't like how Rian turned him into a joke. Oh, what did they do to him? Poe sends Finn and Rose on a quest to meet a codebreaker and turn off the machine that is tracking them through lightspeed on the ship. The planet they go to is called Canto Bight. It's, I guess, the Macau of the Star Wars universe. Everyone here is rich, and according to Rose, they made their wealth by selling weapons to the First Order. Also, Rian throws in a save the animals from abuse bit, which just feels shoehorned in. Like really, this whole sequence with them breaking the animals out and causing havoc just felt unnecessary. Shout out to this guy though. I like him. The Codebreaker, played by Benicio del Toro, offers another morally grey outlook to the story, in a similar way to how Luke does. I love the scene where he is showing Finn who the ship he stole belongs to, showing them selling weapons to the bad guys and the good guys. He explains how there are no bad guys and good guys, it's just business. I wish they explored this more, because yeah, this is sort of mind-shattering information to Finn, and completely throws a grey area on his black and white thinking. But this never comes back. He just ends up betraying them and getting a big payout. He says it is nothing personal, just business, and leaves. Oh, why does Benicio del Toro keep playing interesting characters who get shafted? He is the only good thing to come out of this subplot. Rian Johnson just introduces these morally grey areas, but doesn't explore them more. We just go back to the black and white good versus bad, which is disappointing. Captain Phasma somehow survived The Force Awakens, which is never explained. How the hell did she survive? She just comes back so Finn can beat her in a fight, because I guess this was unfinished business from The Force Awakens. It's pointless. They shouldn't have included her. God, what a wasted character. Now on the Salt Planet. Admittedly, this planet is pretty cool, even if it is trying to invoke a sense of nostalgia with Hoth from The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, look, more nostalgia! So Finn is going to sacrifice himself, and then Rose just saves him at the last minute, then kisses him out of nowhere. I did not feel any romantic intention between them, so this sort of caught me off guard. Then they never explore this in The Rise of Skywalker. Rose just gets shafted, but we will talk more about that later. I don't like how wasted Finn is in this. He was a huge lead character in The Force Awakens, a defected stormtrooper. You know, that's interesting. You can explore a lot with that, and he had a clear character arc in the first film. Where is it here? To fully embrace being a rebel? He does, but I thought we sort of already did this in The Force Awakens. He left the First Order, willingly helped them destroy the base, and went toe-to-toe with Kylo Ren. It's a shame they never meet again. This was another wasted character beat that never came back. Finn will always represent wasted potential to me. I don't mind Rose. Her heart is in a good place and she's likable, but I wish her and Finn had a better storyline together. Part 4. Everything else. I don't like the way The Last Jedi ends. Besides the Luke stuff. That is really good, and Kylo's determination to kill him. I'm talking more about the last scene on the Falcon where everyone is happy and together, despite the fact that they lost so many people, and it's established that this is all that's left of the Resistance. This is not a happy situation. This is dire, and not a success like it's treated as. The First Order nearly wiped you all out, and then earlier you have Rey saying, "Woo! I like this!" as she blasts people from the Falcon. Rey, this is not a fun situation. People are dying, Rey. This could be the end of the Resistance. You should have accepted Ben's offer when you had the chance. This is an example of the out-of-place comedy in the film. We have like Marvel-esque one-liners and comedy that just feels out of place. Rian is clearly trying to tell a darker, morally grey Star Wars story, and then you have, "Woo! I like this!" The comedy just really ruins it. Then for how subversive he is in the film, and asking all these questions about the Jedi, Sith, good versus evil, we just go back to how everything was at the end, and that is really disappointing. He's asking challenging questions, making you, the audience, think about this, and then nothing comes of it. If Rian really wanted to subvert our expectations this much, he should have gone all out. But instead, we are just back to where we started. Speaking of that, The Last Jedi feels like a bottle film, which is a film set in one location. I know it doesn't meet the proper definition of the word, but it just feels so small scale compared to the other Star Wars films. The hop from one place to another. The film is really just about a bigger ship slowly chasing a smaller ship. Then you have Rey with Luke on this planet and Finn and Rose in Space Macau. It's just 4 locations we see. It's like this is a small scale indie film that has been given a blockbuster budget. I don't mind, but having the second film in your tentpole trilogy be like this just seems odd. It would work better as a standalone film, not part of a continuing storyline, because by the end it just feels finished. Where else is there to go? Something it does do a lot better than any other film in this franchise, though, is the cinematography and visuals. Just look at how beautiful and stunning these shots are. God. The Last Jedi is a frustrating film to me. I feel like there is a masterpiece somewhere in here that is just trying to get out. So many interesting ideas, yet they don't do anything with it. I admire what Rian Johnson was trying to do with Star Wars. Break the formula, break the cliches, but then he just reverts back to them by the end. The Last Jedi enters a small list of films that I admire more than I like. In isolation, there are great scenes in this film, some of the best from any Star Wars film, but then we have some of the worst scenes from any of the Star Wars films. The worst Star Wars film to me is still Attack of the Clones, because it's dull and has some of the worst dialogue in the whole series. The Last Jedi, very mixed, since I can't ignore what is great about the film, so it's middle tier to me. But a number of people find this to be the worst one, and with that, this film has gained a significant legacy. Part 5. An unfortunate legacy. In the age of the internet and social media, the backlash to The Last Jedi was swift. Many mixed opinions from fans being said on Twitter. Rian Johnson even responded to them, and this did not help things. In an interview with Wired in 2022, Rian said, "It's all the same. There was a phase where the common wisdom was don't feed the trolls. Ignore it. That's not true. You gotta shut it down like a body fighting an infection." His response did not help the situation, and if anything, he just amplified the backlash towards the film. There is lots of legitimate, fair criticism of The Last Jedi, and to dismiss it and pretty much insult your customers who are paying for it is really not a good look, Rain. There was also hate and harassment towards Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose on her Instagram, which resulted in her shutting it down. This is really abhorrent. She is an actor doing her job. It's not her fault what her character does in the film, and really anyone who harasses actors over this are just awful people. I suspect as well the negative reception to her character is why she has like 1 minute of screen time in Rise of Skywalker. They did her really dirty, going from one of the leads to pretty much a cameo and not following up on anything established in this film with her. Through this backlash though, certain YouTube channels started popping up, talking about The Last Jedi and the backlash. Nearly daily videos on this. They have been named collectively as the Fandom Menace. They were birthed thanks to The Last Jedi, I would say. They also expanded to other fandoms like the MCU, Doctor Who, comics in general, Lord of the Rings, primarily when Rings of Power started. Grifted to them, if you will, since I'm not sure if they are legitimate fans of these franchises. They moan and complain about what they perceive to be woke propaganda in the media and SJW's ruining everything. I feel this started off very genuine. Like watching Geeks and Gamers' first few videos on The Last Jedi.
Watched it another time, I was like, alright, there are some problems here, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. And then I watched it a third time, and ultimately I came to the conclusion that I liked the movie a lot. I hated Canto Bight. I thought Canto Bight was all-time terrible. But as a sequel to The Force Awakens, and as a movie that falls within the Star Wars saga that's supposed to lead us into Episode 9, this movie's fucking terrible.
But then you see it just dwells into madness, scrutinizing every little thing about the film in news articles and from the filmmakers. But then as you go on, he just makes reactionary content. No research, just sees an article and makes an outrageous video about it.
You wanted to draw all this agenda-driven bullshit? Like, I remember there's a quote from Kathleen Kennedy where she's basically talking about how they want Star Wars to reflect, society. How about Star Wars reflects Star Wars?
Low-effort content garbage. Plus, they sprinkle in politics for good measure, and are completely ignorant when it comes to films outside of Hollywood. Godzilla -1's success really helped expose this. Godzilla -1, Oscar wins, destroy Hollywood! You know, Hollywood are the ones who vote for the Oscars, you dumbass! It didn't destroy anything when they voted for it to win! Lots of channels like this popped up, and they became pretty successful. Some small channel imitators as well, maybe you get recommended them. You can tell with the obnoxious thumbnails and the use of buzzwords like woke, SJW, destroys Hollywood, shills, failure, just pure negativity and spitefulness. I really can't take anyone seriously if you unironically use the word woke.
The Super Mario Brothers film, is it woke or is it anti-woke? Is it a pushback against the woke agenda or is it dripping with wokeness? Now, you love the film. I did.
To be perfectly blunt, I do not like these YouTube channels. They are the cancer of the YouTube film community, and they don't add anything of substance. They just spread more hate, more division, and their ignorance, particularly when they talk about topics they have no knowledge about. And they also spread and view everything with their own political bias. I used to be very swept up in them, but I snapped out of it when I saw No Bullshit's video titled SJW Moments in Avengers Infinity War. Here's some highlights.
That scene where Spider-Man references the movie Aliens, which of course is a female-led 80s movie, made by none other than the SJW Canadian director himself, James Cameron, who ironically enough was bitching about this Avengers movie a week ago, saying it was too male, no less. And it looks like Marvel has recognized that too, and that's why they're overcorrecting now. There's also a giant midget in the movie. That's right, he's the guy from Game of Thrones, and he's also the one the Hulk goes to in the movie to have him make a new weapon to fight Thanos. And I think having midget, dwarf, little person representation is certainly something a radical leftist, pro-diversity, anti-ableist SJW would be all for.
You serious?
I thought, God, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It seems to me that these types of people just watch a film with political woke filter on, trying to spot anything they perceive as such. How can you watch a film like that, with that mindset? Women, woke. Person of color, woke. Gay person, woke. Oh no, they race swapped Joel's daughter in The Last of Us. The whole show is completely ruined by this woke bullshit. Certain people existing is woke, I guess. Over time, I do actually question if they do believe what they say, or if they are just saying what their audience wants to hear. Because it's all in the views, boy! But these types of videos and channels are part of the legacy of The Last Jedi. Unintended, but I wonder if this film never happened, would they be here today? You could point to Ghostbusters 2016 starting it, but The Last Jedi just amplified it. Still they rise. Still they are popular today, and when will it end? Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on The Last Jedi down below, and also maybe your thoughts on these reactionary channels. I'm sure they've been recommended to you. So thank you, and until next time, bye.